According to writing expert Mike Rose, writer's block can be defined as the inability to begin or continue writing for reasons other than a lack of basic skills or commitment. He continues by stating that writer's block can be measured by intervals in which writers unsuccessfully attempt to put something on paper while experiencing little or no meaningful engagement whatsoever. According to the ever-credible Wikipedia, early Romantic writers tended to attribute writer's block, whether seriously or merely poetical, to a power that no longer wanted them to write. Alright, let's calm down. Writer's block has various degrees of severity, from difficulty in coming up with original ideas to being unable to produce work for years. Well, I don't actually think it exists. Writers don't get struck by a vocational specific disease. It's not the muse walking out, and it's not some angelic force keeping you from writing. It's also not a literal block in your brain that is impossible to work around or figure out. Really, it's a problem with experience, effort, perspective, and your morale. Calling it writer's block is kind of just getting in your own way a bit. It's a catch-all term for anything that could stop you from writing. It sounds vague and harsh and just like a really big deal when it doesn't have to be. It's honestly not that bad if you can pinpoint your actual issue and just work on it. I know that this video is a little long, but I'm gonna go through every reason why I think someone isn't writing and give you a way out of it with exercises and new habits. And honestly, as long as you genuinely love to write, you'll be fine. What are my credentials for such a claim? I have a degree in English and creative writing. I read for literary magazines. I teach beginners in workshops. I have written consistently my whole life, and I have no fear of ever getting blocked. I will not believe that it will happen to me. Every time I sit down to write, I know something will come out of me. Let's talk about it. Ironically, I'm filming this while I have a bit of a cold right now, so if I'm mumbling or if I sound kind of weird, or if I'm missing words, I'm a little foggy. Inexperience can easily lead to blocks because you don't know what works for you when you run into a problem. Writing is inherently problem solving. You have to figure out plot holes, you have to figure out your characters, you have to figure out how to come up with new ideas, you have to figure out why did I describe it in such a dumb way, how do I fix that, how to get through a difficult scene, how to present an idea in an interesting way. If you haven't solved a lot of problems in your writing, then you will think that these are bigger deals. Understanding how you work and how you solve problems comes with experience. It just comes with time and solving those problems. It's fine. You can shorten that time by reading books on writing that tell you how to solve some of these problems, or by watching this video all the way and subscribing. But honestly, the biggest teacher is just to do it. When you run into a problem, solve it. Don't just avoid the piece. I used to really suck at endings. I didn't know what to do, so I would just leave it. I would just leave the piece where it was sitting, and then I would think, oh, inspiration will hit me one day and I'll just be bestowed the most perfect answer and just write it. Believe it or not, that never happened. So now I know waiting around doesn't work and I have to actually just do it. So when I feel frustrated with not knowing an ending, my go-to is to work out that problem and actually face it head on, because I know that works and I get pieces done faster because I skip that waiting around part. Keep in mind that every writer has something that they're not very good at, even Mother Collins, but the way that those writers improve is that they just figure out their own way to do it. I'm gonna get into like specific solutions in other parts, but right now I just want to talk about how you should think about solving problems, because like I said before, writer's block is a matter of perspective. Some new writers think that writing is really romantic and it's like Dead Poet Society, and you just sit there and it just comes out of you in perfect cursive and it's a dream. Or some new writers think, hey, I'm just gonna write a plan and then I'm just gonna write according to that plan.
Oh, brother!
Writing is more like whack-a-mole than any of that. You know, you have a plot hole or a bad day, or you forget what color eyes your character has. Then you try describing the texture of toast and you feel like an alien. Then you question your life choices and if you should have done something that actually made money instead of doing what you love. If a beginner thinks that this doesn't happen to everybody else, they might just take it personally and not understand that they are going through the writing process. Remember, you're not bad at it, you're new at it. I usually tell my students that good writers aren't necessarily writers who write well all the time. They're writers who have good habits. You know, they read, they write consistently, they challenge themselves, they care about what they do, they want to put out good pieces for their own pride and for the love of the craft. The quality of work will come later down the road with more time, but you are on that road. My only specific advice for this part would be to find a writing group, find writing friends, go to poetry readings, a night class, online forums. Go find people that you can share your ideas and your issues with. Can be online, at a library, a school, I don't know, I don't know. I think it's easiest to find them on Instagram or Facebook. I've always found that there's like readings and poetry groups and writing groups everywhere. They just have the worst marketing, so you never know where they are. Have you had an idea in your head and never sat down to write it? Of course you have. Does it feel too vague? Does it feel like there's issues you need to work out before you can start writing? Does it feel like you don't know enough about it yet? Sit your butt down. There are so many reasons why you'll want to procrastinate. Like, you know that this project is just going to be a ton of work, or you're not confident about it, you don't know enough about it yet. If this is a problem with your lack of effort and just not wanting to do the work, then I can't help you. But I will tell you what to do if you feel lost. Alright, if the literal issue is just getting the first sentence down, just actually starting, the blank page is staring back at you right now, skip it. Don't do it. I never know what my first line is going to be. I don't worry about it. If I know that my character is walking into a store, I will start it there. If I know the first line of dialogue, I'll just start it there. And then when that chapter, that poem, that short story is done, I will go back and write a freaking cool first line. You will never have the perfect first line until after you see what the piece is. I don't waste time on starting. I don't waste time on writing 10 first lines, hating them all, getting rid of it, writing the whole piece, and then writing another first line. Like, just don't worry about that kind of shit. If your issue is that you don't know what to do with a piece, your vision of it looks blurry, you don't really know what the plot fully is yet, or who these characters are yet, or you don't have the allegory to your poem down yet, or whatever you're doing, just kind of start anyways. I suggest planning enough to have a vague character, vague conflict, vague kind of setting, and then just going for it. Or maybe you could know the end and just work to that, or whatever. It's better to not know that much when you start it. And of course you don't know what it will be. You haven't started it yet, and figuring out what you're writing is what the process of writing is. The first draft is you going, oh, but what if I do this? And then the second draft is you going, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, hell yeah, and then it leads me to this. I sound sick. Yeah, the first draft is asking all the questions that you can't really answer in the planning phase. You need to stick your fingers in it and wiggle them around a little bit. Knowing and feeling certain is for the final draft. You cannot feel that way right now. If you overplan and you have to figure out every little detail of your story, or you need it really fleshed out before you start writing, then once you're done writing the first draft or whatever you're doing, you will have to make a new plan anyways. That's like trying to understand what it's like to be in a home from a blueprint. You won't know the color of the walls, or if there's a pet or a weird smell. I feel like people who have finished books will know what I mean when I say that stories kind of take over. They kind of start steering themselves. It's hard for a new writer to understand what I mean by that, or to trust that it will happen. It's kind of like, I don't know, like a good improv doing its, like, just building on itself. I don't know, but your characters start understanding who they are, and you kind of just follow their lead while you write. If your plan gets in the way of that, don't. I have to remind myself that this happens because sometimes I want that certainty before I start something. Sometimes I have to remind myself that the pieces that I love the most that I've ever written, some of my favorite shit I've ever done came from during the first draft where I just jumped in randomly, I got this like lightning strike, this kind of light bulb moment of, oh shit, this is what I should be doing. And it's really exciting to get that like, oh my god, the clouds have parted, I know what I'm doing now. Some people will get stuck on the planning phase for way too long, and they will turn planning into procrastination. You need to put down the notebook and the Pinterest questionnaire now, and that's a threat. I've seen people plan forever and not get a single chapter down. I think you can get stuck there because, like, it's fun, but it's also a sweet spot between working on the book and not working on the book. You're technically doing stuff for the book, but you're not doing the hard work of actually composing the chapters yet. It's a little comfort zone you build for yourself that doesn't get the book done. I know over planning from experience. For my first book in high school, I planned out every single detail of every single thing. And I didn't even do this out of fear of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. How could I ever write it? What is this? I went to a writing workshop where someone said, oh, your first book is always bad. It's like the first pancake. Don't worry about it. You will never publish your first full book. And I was like, joke's on you losers. I'm just going to plan so hard that, yeah, I will, and it'll be amazing. And what even is this? It took the soul out of it. I don't know how to describe it other than that. I didn't let my characters steer where they needed to go. I didn't let any discovery process happen because I stuck to my little bullet point bullshit. Oh yeah, he was doing her mom. I then wrote it again. I've written this book twice. In both drafts, I overplanned the shit out of it. And then after that, I said, no more. I can't do this idea anymore. I need to move on. I can't. No. For my next book, the one that I'm basically done now, I'm in like the last polishing phases of it. It took me 4 drafts. And not because I'm bad at writing books, but because I'm very slow at writing books. All I did was have a vague idea. I was like, okay, this boy with the baseball cap and this backpack, I'm gonna have him go into a corner store. Maybe something will happen in there. And then I was like, okay, what will the corner store really look like? And who's the cashier of this kind of place? This is still the first chapter in the draft I have now. It worked out. And this idea is 1,000 times better than that idea, in my opinion. And I had a lot more fun writing. Different books need different amounts of planning. I understand that. If you're yelling at your phone right now, telling me that you have a high fantasy world, I understand you, but you still have character and plot just like every other book. And those characters and that plot needs to be developed naturally. And I urge you to do that huge world building planning that you have to do. I get it, but do it after a little bit of experimenting. See what might be necessary of this world building you are about to plan. And I'm serious about those goddamn fucking Pinterest questionnaires though. Those ones that are like 100 questions and it's like, hey, what's your character's zodiac sign? What kind of socks do they wear? What kind of ice cream do they like? Like what? You don't need to know any of that to know your character. Yes, there are things that you should know about your character that the reader will never know so that it can feel more real or whatever. But those specific little bullshitty things, you don't need to know that. If you want to get to know your characters better, write the same scene over and over again. I'm not kidding. Pick a scene. Could be just a little, like, picking an apple off a tree and eating it. And as a writing exercise, have all of your characters do the exact same scene in their own way. See how each one of your characters will do the task differently. And if you have interesting characters and dynamics, then they will all do it differently. And it's a good test also to see if you need to develop your characters more. So overall, with how to get started when you don't feel ready, it's not a matter of what you can do to feel ready. It's more about taking that leap of faith. Sometimes you sit down to write and you got nothing. You can't get anything down. You can't get anything good down. You feel like shit. So having no creativity can be a today problem or it can be a this year problem. And I'm going to talk about what to do if it's this year's problem later. Being creative all the time is a hard thing to do. It's a lot to ask of yourself all the time. Having off days is not writer's block. It's just part of the process. Couple of things you can do when you're feeling drained that day is that you can just give it an honest try. Maybe you feel drained when you start and then you feel better as you go. Go read something. If you can't write that day, go read something. I mean it. Go exercise. I swear by this one. Dan Brown, the Da Vinci's Code guy, says that after every hour he writes, he stops to do push-ups or jumping jacks. He swears by physical activity to maintain creativity even on good days. And I'm not telling you to go do push-ups, okay? We're not bodybuilders, we're writers, like come on. But go for a walk, dance around your room, swing your arms around. There's been studies on this, like it opens up the veins in your skull or something. I don't know. I'm not that smart. But I know it works. I go for walks anytime I feel like I don't have any creativity and then I try again. You can change your environment. You can go to the library. You can write outside. You can write in a different room. You can go to a different piece that day. You know, if you're writing a novel, but you have a short story on the side, switch to the short story that day. You can try a writing prompt or a new form, a new genre. Write something bad on purpose. Just get some freaking words down on the page. You can journal. This is good because you're still in the act of writing and being introspective, but also you don't have any pressure to make it good. Free write. This is something a lot of writers swear by. It is when you move the pen constantly for a set number of minutes or pages. You just write constantly, even if you're just writing the words, I don't know what to write. Or just fucking do it anyways, you big baby. The biggest thing you can do to lessen these days is to write consistently. Give yourself a schedule. It could be, once a day for an hour. It could be only on weekends, 3 days a week, doesn't matter. But stick to it, because the more you sit down to write and you go through the process of beginning to write again and again every day, the easier it'll get. And it keeps you in that frame of mind, that writing frame of mind. It gives you a lot of momentum. Like, I see sitting down to write anytime you can or as often as you can as a cure-all to a lot of problems. Uncle Rick is one writer who says that writing is like training for a marathon. You can't take 6 months off and then expect to run as smoothly as you did before your break. You have to maintain it like a muscle. If your brain has not worked in months, years, then you need to try something else. You need a bigger solution. You're in a serious rut. It's hard to give advice for this part because there's so many reasons why this could happen, and a lot of it has to do with like your life situations, but I would say that if your rut has stretched this far and you don't know how to get out of it, I would say it's a good time to check in on your mental health, and it's time to start looking outside of your writing for the solution. The only time where I've really been blocked and legitimately had writer's block was when my mental health was at its lowest and I couldn't write, but I couldn't do a lot of things. And I had to solve that problem. But once that problem was solved, mediated, I don't know, whatever you want to call still being depressed, but my writing just kind of continued. I just was able to do it again. It had nothing to do with my creativity, my ability to write. It had everything to do with what my brain was doing. All right, some non-mental health stuff you can do for this shit. Start exercising. Again, I don't want you to have abs. I just want you to move around a little bit. Free write every day. Lots of writers, again, they swear by it. The Artist Way says to do it. And I have problems with the Artist Way. I tried it. I did it. I'm going to talk about that in a different video, but the free writing actually did help. That was good job. Give yourself a challenge or a goal. An easy one for poets is to write a haiku every day. I did that one. It was pretty fun. You could get those little paint sample card things and write a paragraph or a poem based off one color a day if you want. You can challenge yourself to learn how to write in the style of a famous author and follow their schedule. You could pick a book that talks about how to write and you can follow the exercises. Staring the Craft by Ursula Le Guin. Can't fucking talk right now. This is an amazing one. In it, she goes through different chapters of different topics and writing advice, and then at the end she has little exercises that you can go through, you know, exercises picked out by a fucking masterclass author. But any book on writing usually have exercises. Like, you pick anyone you want. I don't know what causes more blocks, having no creativity or having a big fucking plot hole you can't figure out.
What we need to do now is get focused and stop pointing fingers. You're a problem. You're a real problem.
It can be really hard to know how to move forward in a story, even if it's planned, even if you were doing great up until this point. But that's all right. You can just keep trying to slowly solve the problem. This type of thing, not knowing how to continue, can happen in lots of different ways. Maybe you get halfway through a chapter and then you just don't know what to do from there. It feels really boring, or you're like, oh, the characters don't need to be doing this. I needed them to be over here or something. Some people will get tunnel vision on where they stopped writing. Don't do that. That is where you noticed the problem. That's not where you made the mistake, though. Usually it's way before that. Maybe it was the start of the chapter. Maybe it's the settings, the perspective. Maybe it was this overall plot line and somebody else should have been doing something. You know what I mean? You have to really go back and look at all the decisions that led you up to where you stopped. And some other things you can do. Change the beginning. Add more action, add some movement. Do you know why so many fucking movies have characters just walking down a hall talking to each other? It's literally just to add movement. You can do the same thing in writing. Did you get stuck in too much dialogue? Are they now looping? Or you can't get them to shut up now? Do you have too many characters? Do you know the characters well enough? Add more conflict. Do you actually need this part in the story at all? Think of the theme, think of the message, think of the thing you want the reader to take away from your book, and relate this part back to it. How can you get back to that? Go get feedback. Go find someone you trust, get some feedback. 10 lines. 10 lines is something I freaking love. It's something comedians do. They will write the setup to a punchline. My mother-in-law is a bitch. And then they will write 10 punchlines to that one setup. And they want to push themselves. They want to see what they can come up with. They don't want to just go with the first thing that comes to their mind. When I write poems and I don't like a line, it's not sitting right. I don't think it's good enough. Sometimes I will go and I will write 10 versions of a line that could go there, and I'll see how different they can possibly be. Or you can use it as a writing warm-up. In my writing class, we were given the prompt like, why can't Sally open her umbrella? And we have to give 10 reasons why. It could be that she doesn't have an umbrella. Could be that she's in a building and it's bad luck. Could be that if she opens her umbrella, it's a signal to the guy in the bushes to kill the president. That was funnier when we wrote it. Could be that she's actually the size of your thumb and she physically can't open the umbrella, or Sally doesn't exist. My biggest advice, honestly though, the biggest thing I always do, my go-to, is whenever I don't know what to do with the story, I feel like the logic isn't logicking, I will get 2 pieces of paper. Write this down, you're gonna need this fucking advice. I get 2 pieces of paper. I got a pen, because you have to do this by hand. Don't piss me off. On 1 piece of paper, I start writing out everything I know. Could be about the plot, could be about the chapter, the character, the whatever. I just start writing everything down. And then on the other piece of paper, every idea that pops into my head, I just write it down. Oh, this character should actually be wearing this shirt in this scene. Oh, wait, I like this dialogue better. Oh, wait, why does she do that? I'm writing down, okay, this character hates this guy. Why? Writing out everything you know will start making your brain fire off random shit. And it could be very helpful. Or it could make you start focusing on this thing that you hadn't really thought about before. That's actually how I came up with the ending to my book. I was like, hey, if this character wants this was their whole motivation. This is what they were trying to get the whole time. But the logic of the world works this way, then why wouldn't he just, like, it wouldn't make sense to get this thing, how he was doing it with how the world works. So I was like, but I kind of need him to get the thing that way or I don't have a plot. So I started writing out everything I knew about my world building. And then I realized, nope, nothing can really budge, which means that if he wants this thing in this way, he's lying. He knows that he can't do it that way. He's lying to everybody. And it was kind of fun writing it out going, what? He's the villain, actually? Because I thought he was actually going to be the good guy, and it was really fun. I was writing that shit down like, what? You had a few bad days writing. Every word you had to get down felt like you were chiseling it into stone. It was bad. And then you had to go back and delete it because it sucked ass. Or you were trying to figure out something and you couldn't get it. Congratulations. The rule of thirds. 80% sure that's what it's called. I learned about it years ago on Instagram. Apparently it's something trainers say to athletes. But it's for anyone who's trying to get good at anything. It states that a third of your time needs to be hard work. It needs to feel like you're not getting it. It needs to feel like you're being challenged and pushed. The other third of your days needs to be kind of meh, whatever, you clocked in. The other third needs to be amazing days where you knocked it out of the park. You feel like you did a great job. Everything was just working. And it has to be that way in those thirds for you to make progress. If it's all good days, then you're not challenging yourself. If it's all bad days, it means you're challenging yourself too much and maybe take it down a notch. If it's all meh, then you don't actually like writing. I say this to point out to you that your hard days are progress still. There's still good things to you. You can't not have them and get better. And honestly, give yourself a break. Like, did you think you were gonna write an entire book without a bad day? Do you know how long those things are? Writing and reading go hand in hand. You cannot be a good writer without reading. Common sense. And what you read matters. I don't want to explain to you why as a writer you have to read. Like, just do it. That's like trying to play a guitar solo or trying to be really good at guitar and you refuse to listen to any music ever. What? It is a basic requirement, and I'm getting a little bit fired up about this because you have no idea, as someone who went to school for writing and someone who teaches beginners and who goes to reading, like, I'm around these people. How many new writers tell me they refuse to read, either because they think it makes their writing better?
Sure, Jan.
Or they just don't feel like it. And I'm sorry to say this, you can tell from their writing that they don't read. Sorry. I tell my students, you can either be a good writer or you can be a lazy one. It's up to you. As a writer, it matters what you read and how you read it. You need to read diversely. And when I say diversely, I mean in terms of genre and story, but also author. Read authors who aren't like you, from different races, genders, sexual orientations, time periods, countries, anything. Read different genres as well. It breaks my heart that a lot of the writing advice I got starting out came from this one author I really don't want to give credit to. I'm gonna say this stuff here, but I'm not fuck that guy. But you need to read diversely in terms of story. If you only write horror novels, awesome. But you need to read more than just horror novels, because if you only read horror novels, then you will only be exposed to the tropes and the writing of horror novels. If you want your work to stand out in that sea, then you have to know what's outside of it. You have to be able to take from other genres in order to bring those things to your genre and make you different than the rest of them. If you only read horror and write horror, you will be extremely mediocre. And you don't have to abandon the books you love reading. If you love reading and writing horror, do not stop, but every once in a while, throw in something else. Throw in a sci-fi. Horror and sci-fi love each other. Let them kiss. Read a fucking short story. Read a little bit of poetry. Read a comic book. Like, just switch it up every once in a while. I'm not even for a second gonna explain to you why you have to read diverse authors. That is common sense again. When you read, pay attention. Write down notes like a fucking nerd. Like, get a notebook with your book. Do that aesthetic annotating crap. I don't care. You want to write down stuff you notice. Hey, I really don't like how that line sounded because of this. I really loved how this line sounded because of this. Hey, this character said this, which makes me think that this will happen by the end of the book. Or, whoa, that was shocking. I can't believe they described it that way. The more you notice in other people's writing, the more you will notice in your writing. The more you notice in their technique, the more you will notice in your own technique. And if you don't read, I want you to go back to your own work and highlight every cliche you've used. I know you. When in doubt, go read something. I always find that after I read, the words come out of me a little bit better. I feel a lot more inspired. Not to be a poet about it, but when I don't read, I feel like the shriveled up houseplant, and when I read, I feel like the non-shriveled up houseplant. Like, just go read something. Just go read. And don't tell me you're a writer if you don't read. Like, that is fucking crazy to me, and I'm offended so much because I hear it all the time. But, like, go. Sometimes it's not the writing at all that's stopping you. Sometimes it's the big, ugly face of rejection and the publishing world that is stopping you from writing. I've always said that there's nothing in this world that could ever make me not write. Not a goddamn thing. But the publishing world is really fucking close. I'm a part of the publishing world and I can't fucking stand it. A great way to starting your writing career is to send out your work to literary magazines and journals. And I have a whole video on how to do it and what those are and what readers look for when your work gets submitted to those magazines. Please go check it out. But submitting to those things also means that you have to face rejection. If you're going to be a writer, you're going to be rejected. That is just how it works. If you're going to be any kind of artist, you're going to be rejected. If you're going to be a human person on earth, you're going to get rejected. Keep in mind that everyone, amazingly talented writers, get rejected. You know those stories where it's like, oh, William Golding got his book, Lord of the Flies, rejected like 1,000 times before it got published or whatever. Or they always say that at this huge writer, Mother Collins, no one wanted their book for years before it got published. And I laugh at that because that's every book. Every book gets rejected that many times. That's just how it works. Publishing is a numbers game. You gotta get those numbers up and you just gotta deal with it. You have to rewire your brain to see rejection as an either non-issue, something normal, or a positive, or else you will burn yourself out and it'll make you feel like shit, and you don't deserve that when it comes to your writing. And remember that no one can come into your room and take your notebooks and laptop away and say, hey, you've been rejected too many times, you've sucked and failed too many times, you're done. The only person that can get you to stop submitting or to stop writing is you. When my stories or my poetry get rejected, if I don't feel great about that piece and that rejection hurts a bit more, I will rewrite that piece or I will edit it. I will make sure that it looks better. So when I send it out, instead of seeing that as like maybe 5 rejections, I will see that as 5 opportunities to make my story better. So when it does get published, actually, thank God for those rejections because now it looks a whole lot better. I'm not saying to edit all your pieces. You can edit the soul right out of them and you can over edit, but like you'll know. I submitted a chapbook to an author I really, really love who also publishes chapbooks. And he emailed me back. And this work that I sent him, I had worked with a published author to edit. I had eyes on it. Two different published authors actually looked at it and told me, oh shit, this is good. No, you're way past beginner. Actually, this is some nice shit. And I felt really excited and proud about it. I knew that this work was good. I knew that it represented my skill. And I was very, very excited about this chapbook. Sent it off to that publisher. And he said that he didn't like it because it was too narrative. Now, as a submission reader who has to give feedback, I know that too narrative means I just didn't like it, and narrative is my nice word for saying go away now. And yeah, that was disappointing because I was really excited to like have my book published under his name, his company, whatever. But him rejecting me didn't really faze me much because I knew in my soul, I knew for a fact that I knew my work was good and that it just didn't fit his whatever. It didn't fit his taste. But I knew that I was good. So I just thought, okay, a different place will take it. And that's what you have to do. You have to believe in your own stuff and just say, okay, it's for someone else. And that actually felt pretty good. I'm really happy with that rejection because I've never felt that self-affirmed before in my own writing. It felt really good to have that reaction. You need to see negative feedback the same way, as either a non-issue or as a positive. I've heard from some beginner writers that they don't like workshops and they don't like showing their work to people because they don't like getting feedback. I think this is a mistake to cut yourself off of like writing groups, workshops, opportunities to learn, opportunities to show your work to people. Negative feedback and you have the exact same goal, and that's to make your piece better. I went to my class and I gave them my poem about depression, and everyone said that they thought it was about addiction, and I had no idea it would have been read that way, so thank God. It was very helpful to know how people were looking at it when I went back to edit it. If you feel yourself getting defensive, someone says something like, hey, I think this character meant this, or I thought that this poem was about this, and they're wrong, and you feel yourself getting defensive, cut that shit out immediately. Some beginner writers think that if they can explain their piece and talk away that comment, then they don't have to change anything about their piece. And I need to remind those writers that, hey, when your work is out in the world, you will not be there to stand over that reader and tell them why they're wrong and they actually need to think X about your piece. You can't do that. Your work needs to stand on its own. Knowing what's bad about your piece is good even if it doesn't make you feel good all the time. If someone in the workshop is mean, like just straight up mean, then fuck them. That's a loser. You're gonna get mean over fucking what? This is a poetry workshop. This is a short story class. Can you shut the fuck up? Like, we had this one guy that actually made people cry. He thought he was God's gift of writing and wanted to make other people cry. He wanted to stand there as if he was the professor and just talk down on everybody. And his work sucked too. His work was like confusing and over the top, and like he was whatever. What a loser. What a fucking loser. You don't need to sugarcoat your negative feedback. You don't need to be overly nice to that person. But you need to treat them with some fucking dignity. You need to talk to them like they're a human being. That, oh my god, I'm sick. Oh my god, I sound sick. Tough love time, alright? I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Have you tried? Did you actually try to cure your writer's block? What led to your writer's block? Did you just not feel like writing one day and now it's 6 months later? Are you waiting for inspiration to pop into your head? When's the last time you read something? There are lots of legitimate reasons why someone needs to step away from writing or could feel blocked. I'm not talking about those people right now. I want you to ask yourself if you actually put in the effort and really tried to unblock yourself, or if you stopped as soon as it got a little hard and now you're calling it writer's block. Ask yourself how you really feel about writing. Does it feel like a chore to you, or does it feel like expression and something you need to do? Alright, basically read. Write as often as you can. Walk around a bit. Put in a little bit of effort. And remember, writer's block doesn't exist. I have told myself that I'll never get it, and I truly believe that. I really hope this helped you, and if there's a reason that you have for feeling blocked that I didn't get to in this video, then please leave it in my comments. I want to make a bigger list. And like, go easy on yourself. This shit's really hard. I'm thinking of doing a how to write a novel video because I've made so many fucking mistakes that you don't need to make. And maybe I'll talk about that. So many mistakes. I want to do more how-to style videos. Can you hear my stomach? What the fuck? I want to make more how-to style videos, so if there's anything else you want, please leave it in my comments. And go check out my other videos. I have Shakespeare and Hunger Games and Wicked and video essays and lots of stuff. And as always, go check out Cadabra Guy.